Alright, we are back once again in a new recording session for Monster Hunter World. This time it has only been maybe a week or two since I recorded the last set of episodes, and jumping right back into the adventures of our hunter Elta, you may notice that she is finally wearing a new outfit. Like I mentioned at the end of the last recording session, I wanted to gear up a decent set to plow into high rank, and I wanted to build a set around skills that'll supplement a greatsword build. But before we proceed, I will quickly break down what I ended up farming. If we go to the equipment info, I'm currently using the Zora Magdaros Alpha headgear. It's hidden as usual. The headgear gives us handicraft and blast attack. The blast attack will synergize pretty well with the element on our greatsword, the defender greatsword. Chest piece is the Zora Hide Beta. I chose the beta set because it had more slots for potential decorations. And this one gives 2 points in blast attack. Again, better synergy with our blast weapon. The arms are Kestodon guards. Not the highest level gear for this point in the game, but it does give us a point in focus. Affinity sliding is a bonus skill that we may make use of. Waist piece, Zora Spine Beta, has Fortify. Nothing really that closely tied in with our skills, but Fortify is a supplementary skill that's not bad to have. Legs, these are the Juragreaves Alpha, which is the high rank version of the Juratotus legs. And it took me quite a while to farm up one of the components for this piece of armor. The regular Jura bits are easy to get, but it requires a Wyvern gem, which is a more rare drop from the lower tier monsters, and it took me kind of a long time and quite a few dead Baroths before I managed to get one in the drops. And this gives 2 points in focus, which should bring us up to focus level 3 for the first time. On charm, I crafted a handicraft charm to get another boost, point boost in handicraft. So if we go over to our main loadout, all of our equipped skills are Zora Magdaros level 3, which this set bonus with 3 pieces of Zora armor ups the status effect damage which of certain attacks, paralysis, poison, sleep, and blast, which is good for our weapon. The blast attack 3 is the next skill on here, and that gives us plus 20% buildup of blast status and a bonus of plus 10. We have focus 3, which gives us a 20% faster fill rate on gauge base weapons, which we're not using, but 15% faster charge on our charge slashes. I slotted in 2 attack decorations for attack plus 6 and plus 6 higher raw. 2 points in handicraft gives us a slight sharpness boost, which is a nice supplementary skill. Fortify level 1 will increase attack by 10% every time. Attack by 10, defense by 15 every time I faint. And infinity sliding is short 30% affinity boost after sliding down a slope. Now all of the skills here are a pretty good starter set of skills for a greatsword build. What we can do is go ahead and head over to the inventory box. As I was doing miscellaneous quests, I did a couple optional ones and unlocked some things. But the next story beat that we have here is this quest in the upper right, Tickled Pink, which is asking us to hunt a high rank Anjanath. And I have not done that fight on high rank yet. I wanted to wait until we were back in a recording session. But one thing I did do, if we head over to the inventory box here, since the last recording session, I did learn some things. And the armor set that Capcom release that's supposed to be the get through low rank and high rank in time for Iceborne is this set. This is the Defender set, which is a throwback to some of the armor in older Monster Hunter games. And real quickly, I'll explain what this loadout looks like, because this was a set I couldn't find before. It turns out you have to go to the armory and just craft it directly. You don't create it at the smith. But this particular set has a higher base defense at 251, almost 30 points higher than the mixed set that we're wearing with the Zora skills. But the total skill package for the Defender set is health boost plus 3, which starts you off with a base health pool of 50, plus 50, which is nice because that means you don't have to get it from food buffs. Recovery up, level 3, gives a 30% more healing when you use anything that's going to restore health, like a potion. Marathon Runner, level 3, which reduces stamina depletion by 50%. Divine Blessing, level 3, which, when active, reduces damage by 50%, has a set chance to trigger, and when it triggers, it'll cut your damage in half. And then the attack boost and handicraft are coming from my decorations and charm. And one of the things I was doing while I was farming up Barath is I created the Defender Glaive 3. The Insect Glaive is one of my secondary weapons that I'll occasionally play in the Monster Hunter game. I have tinkered around with it for a bit in World. It's a pretty fun weapon, and I was getting used to its controls as I was slowly destroying the Barath population. But what I think I'm going to do for at least now on this Let's Play, depending on how long it takes me to get through the regular content in Monster Hunter World, as of the time of recording this, it's the 2nd of January, and there's about a week until Iceborne comes out. So I'm going to try and pick up the pace and get through the base content in the world so that I'm ready for the launch of Iceborne. I can start recording episodes of the Let's Play and not have a big gap between when Iceborne releases and when I actually start uploading episodes. But I'm going to keep this set on hand as we go, especially if I have options to fight other targets that aren't part of the main quest line. Because up till now we've been running exclusively with the Greatsword, and while that is the primary weapon I want to use on this character, I think it'd be fun to switch things up with the other weapons, which is why I crafted the Defender set. At some point, if I feel like switching weapons just to change things up a bit, then this is a good utility set that's going to make it pretty easy. Taking this out on some high rank hunts, the high defense and health boost and the recovery boost make it pretty tanky. The high rank monsters I was fighting weren't really taking huge chunks out of my health with this. But looking at the skill set on the Zora one, if I were to take this Insect Glaive, the Defender 3, which has a blast element, innate blast element, just like the Greatsword, the Zora set that I'm using would actually be more functional since it has the status boost and the overall blast boost. But as a way to sort of switch things up as we start the recording session, I'd like to explain the mechanics of the Glaive and take it out on the hunt against Anjanath, just to sort of, one, brush up on using the weapon itself, and to demonstrate it in combat. So before we jump into the quest line, I'm going to re-equip my mixed Zora set, put on the Glaive, go to the training area, and do a real quick rundown of how this weapon works, because it functions very differently from the Greatsword. We'll go ahead and switch back to the Zora set, and at some point if I want to mix up other weapons that aren't super reliant on the blast element, I can always use the Defender set and just swap my weapon out. It will basically be useful for anything else I want to tinker around with, at least in high rank. We'll go here, grab this set, change the Defender Glaive, and we'll start off with a trip to the training room. And we can get that by going to our quarters. These are the upgraded quarters, and look at my cat's armor. I'm going to need to upgrade Nami's armor. He is currently using, I think, the metal, one of the alloy sets. And I might be able to give him some of the high rank gear once we take out a couple more targets. Or I might be able to give him Zora gear, since I did farm up a few runs online with random people in order to get the bits that I'm wearing now. A real quick, kind of condensed rundown of the insect glaive. Unlike the greatsword, which we've been using for the majority of our time in Monster Hunter World, the insect glaive is a very speedy weapon. Right away, your foot speed is relatively quick. You move at a decent clip when you're using this weapon. And the attacks for the insect glaive are all either thrusting or slashing attacks with the blades. It has blades on both ends. And if I were to hit forward triangle, or I think that's Y on the Xbox controls. I'm using a PS4 controller for my PC here. If we hit triangle, we have the regular reaping slash. If we hit forward and triangle, we get the poke, the thrust. If we hit circle or B, we get the wide sweep. If we hit forward B, or forward circle, I'm going to just refer to the PS4 controller since that's what I'm using. You can see the commands in the upper right too. After Iceborne comes out, I might see if I can find a mod that'll switch the input display to PS4 so it's not as confusing. But forward circle gives us the leaping slash, and overhead chop, which does pretty decent damage. If we hit back and circle, we get the leaping slash backwards. Functions the same way, but it'll move you away from the target. If you need to close and get in and then get out, you can use the input to move away. Unlike the greatsword, which is mostly for strong individual hits more than combos, the insect glaive features a lot of chained attacks. If we hit triangle, triangle, we get the rising slash combo into the reaping slash, sort of an uppercut and an overhead swing back to back. And then if we chain it again, we get the double slash, which goes from side to side. Likewise, we can chain our inputs with triangle and circle to go from the rising slash to overhead slash. We can mix up things with the thrust. And basically the insect glaive functions kind of like a combo flowchart in a fighting game. You can take all the different attacks, and for the most part you can chain them together. It's a very quick weapon overall, and it does a pretty decent amount of damage. The insect glaive is also one of the only weapons in the game that includes a special type of mobility. If we hit right trigger and X, we get the vault. And when this weapon was first introduced in Monster Hunter 4, it was either 4 or 4U, it was the only one that could jump, and as a result, do jump attacks. We have the jumping slash with triangle. We have the jumping advanced slash with circle, which pops us forward and has a lateral slice. And overall, this weapon gives you the ability to do jumping, leaping, or mounting damage without having to jump off of something like all the other weapons do. You can still jump off of ledges or things and get the same attacks, but by hitting trigger and X, you have the vault. If we vault and then hit X, like we would dodge, you get the mid-air evade, which pops you in a direction that you hit with the left stick. It allows you to reorient yourself, dodge out of the way, and keep the pressure on the monsters if they're running away, or get out of their way if they're closing in on you. The Insect Glaive has no defense in the air. You take a hit while you're flying, you will take decent damage, so it's definitely important to be careful and not just spam jump attacks. That pretty much covers the basic attacks and inputs within the Insect Glaive. And overall, you can probably see that its movement and attacks are pretty quick in contrast with the Greatsword. One thing you might be wondering if you've never seen this weapon before is what this white thing on my arm is. It looks kind of like a bug, and as you might guess, since this weapon's called the Insect Glaive, it is in fact a bug called a Kinsect. And Kinsects are assist bugs that come with every Insect Glaive. You have to have one equipped in order to use the weapon. And they go through their own upgrading line, just like weapons and other gear. And you can gear your bug around certain parameters, like speed or power, depending on how you want to use them. And to demonstrate how they work, if you hit left trigger to go into your targeting reticle, just like you would for the slinger, but then hit triangle, you send your bug out, and it will fly out towards a target in a straight line. It functions kind of like a projectile in that you can aim it where you're shooting, and it will hover around for a bit and just sort of hangs out. In the upper left, you can see a yellow bar going down. That's its stamina. If I hit circle, I'll recall it back to my arm, and its stamina bar will slowly recharge over time. And the main function of the Kinsect is twofold. It can be used to attack monsters, and you can give your Kinsect assists different elements, so they'll deal elemental damage when they hit the monster. Different species of bugs have different damage types as well. Some are blunt, like a KO damage weapon. Some are cutting, so they'll do slicing damage when they hit a target. But the main reason why the Kinsects are important is their extract system. If you look in the upper left, above the yellow bar and below my sharpness, there's what looks like a bug icon and then 3 diamonds. Let's say 1, 2, and 3. If I go back to my targeting reticle, holding left trigger, and then I hit triangle, and I send my bug into the main hit pillar here, it suddenly glows red. That means it's gathered a red extract. If I hit circle to recall it, I'll grab a red extract, and the red box, the red diamond, is now blinking. What that's done is it's going to change my attacks and also provide an attack boost, I believe. Let's check the hunter's notes and see if we can make sure. Okay. Red, improved attacks. White, faster movement. Orange, defensive, knockback protection. Alright. There isn't a damage boost when we hit the red extract, but if we grab it again, and I go back into my attacks, by alternating my inputs between triangle and circle, I now have the ability to chain things together much faster. This results in the infinite loop combo, which is triangle, triangle, circle, and then triangle. And it allows you to do a continuous string of attacks and basically keep the pressure on the monster. And you can't do this when you don't have the red extract, which is why it's key when you're fighting monsters to prioritize getting this particular buff, because it makes your Insect Glaive combos much more fluid and allows you to chain in between them relatively easily. And the way the extracts work is they will stay charged, and after a set amount of time, they'll wear off, and you have to gather them again. And before we move on to the other extract colors, another thing that's really important for the red extract, if I were to jump and vault, now if I hit circle, I have the strong jumping advanced slash, which, unlike just the thrust forward in the air, this one is actually this windmill of different attacks, and if I manage to hit the monster, I can revault off the monster and launch myself back into the air to continue the air combo, as long as I have stamina. Once the stamina is out, I can't do that anymore. But in conjunction with the mid-air evade, once you have red extract and you're able to get in the air, you can basically fly around the monster, not indefinitely, but for a good while, as long as you watch your positioning, and keep the attacks on the enemy, which definitely changes how the weapon handles compared to when it's uncharged with red extract. And the other thing you can do once you're airbound is hit triangle, and you'll do the strong jumping slash, which is this spinning, flipping slash that comes straight down on the target. Those are the main things that you can do with Insect Glaive when it has red extract, which is why it's most important. If we go back to our targets here, turn our sighting reticle back on, and send our bug out, the large barrels will give us white. White sharpness is a movement speed. You can see Elta's booking it a little bit faster, and her overall mobility is up. Pretty handy for maneuvering around on the ground and overall getting out of the way without having to rely on rolls. If we send the bug out to the smaller barrel, we get orange, which is knockback protection. This is pretty helpful for negating small attacks. It won't keep you from getting knocked over by things that are strong, but this is also a good one to have. Now if we go back to the training dummy and grab red, we will get all three, and this state I believe is called triple up. Let's see if the Hunter's Notes have a name for it. Let's see. It says combine extracts for hybrid effects. It'd be nice if it said what the special effects were, but I believe the best combination of buffs that you want to aim for, assuming the monster will let you grab the different parts, is the triple up that has all three active. I want to say it extends their overall buff time, but I'd have to go and look since it's been forever since I researched all the Insect Glaive mechanics. But when you're out fighting monsters, each body part on the monster gives a different extract, and you have to, as an Insect Glaive player, memorize which parts of the monster give you what, so you know what to aim your bug at when you're out there trying to gather all your extracts. Usually the attacking portions of the monster or head will give red. The torso or middle part of the body frequently gives orange. The legs give white. And usually tails will give green, which is the fourth color, which I don't know if we can grab from anything here. Green will heal you a small amount when you grab that extract. It doesn't affect your buffs at all. So right away we can see that the Insect Glaive is a bit more of a complicated weapon compared to the Great Sword. Another thing you can do if you use the right trigger while the left trigger is active is you can mark a target. And when you do that, your bug will fly to that point on the target, and on its own it will continue to attack and hit the target and create these dust clouds. And when you attack the dust clouds, they will trigger a certain effect depending on the innate qualities of the bug. This particular one creates blast clouds, which synergizes well with the weapon and the armor set we're using. Some of the other bugs have a heal cloud, which will create the same type of graphic effect, only green, and when you hit those with your weapon, it'll heal you for a small amount, which is handy. But while you're in combat with the monster, you can mark them, or if you're mid-combo and you just hit right trigger by itself, you do a Kinsec mark with the weapon itself, and it'll provide the same effect. That the part of the monster you hit will become marked, your bug will go out and start creating clouds. Overall, the Insect Glaive is a lot to manage, but it's incredibly fun. I don't consider myself an expert with the weapon in this game. I played around with it a lot in the handhelds, but overall it's fun, and I think it'll be a good change of pace to go out and try and get good with it on hunts. So we'll go back to town, gear up, and then head out and try and fight the Anjanath.